Hello, wildlings. I'm your Creep Smith, and you found my Fear Forge. Lucky you.
Two tiny tales of terror today. My Doppelganger on TV by HopelessNightOwl, and Don't Let the Cold Man In. It's funny how you can get used to seeing yourself on TV. I was just 6 when I first saw, or at least noticed, my doppelganger. I was watching live coverage of some local event I don't actually remember when I saw a boy who looked just like me. I turned and told my mom, and she chuckled but said that happens to everyone now and then. From then on, I'd see him from time to time, as an extra on a kids show, in the crowd at a baseball game, or in one of those interstitials where the local news station visits a local school and gives them a shout out. This always happened when I was alone, and never in photographs or in recorded media, though I did once see him in the footage from a rock concert in the 80s that was being replayed on MTV. He aged with me, and he often wore clothes that I actually had in my own wardrobe. I got used to it over time, and by the time I had reached the 6th grade, I was starting to see him less and less frequently. All the way into my 20s, he appeared just enough to set me a little on edge, but infrequently enough that I could live comfortably with long periods of not even thinking about it. Well, now that I've gotten famous myself, I have gotten very used to seeing myself on television. I'm starting to get nervous because lately, reporters, especially paparazzi, have been reporting more and more sightings of me in places where I haven't been. And there are a lot of people who are claiming on the internet to have met me under circumstances that I know I haven't been in. I know the tabloids make up stuff about celebrities, and I know sometimes people lie about rubbing shoulders with their idols, but this feels different. My managers, agents, and publicists are all very excited about the buzz. At least they can sleep easy about it. I had a dream last night. It was one of those that seems real right up to the point where you wake up. Now, there were some strange things about it. Certain things about it were really strange, but it never occurred to me that it might not actually be happening. I'm still not prepared to say unequivocally that it didn't happen. I mean, I'm not spiritual, and I don't really understand stuff like that. I just feel like I've been somewhere, and now I'm back, and I know something really happened when I woke up, and I think while I was asleep too. Now, I went to bed last night with this strange feeling. We all remember times when we felt like we were being watched, but this was more than that. I felt like there was someone there with me, but I still couldn't keep from falling asleep. I don't exactly remember the beginning of the dream. The first thing that I do remember was staring at my house and walking. I was just walking down the road. All my neighbors' houses were gone, and I was just on a long, empty road, and there was no one around but me. I don't remember what I'd been doing back at the house, but I may have been there a while right before I started walking. I just recall feeling a very strong urge to get moving, to go, to walk. I felt okay walking down that road. It was cold and dark, and I felt a little lost, but I wasn't afraid, not like I had been in my room. I don't know how long I was on the road. It felt like a long time. I mean, like days long, but I never felt tired. I just wanted to keep walking. The road itself changed after a while. It had been straight and nondescript the whole time, but eventually I reached a bend and then a fork in the road. When I reached the fork, I wasn't alone anymore. A familiar voice called out to me from the side of the road. "It's good to see you," the voice whispered. "I'm just sorry to see you here." I turned to face the voice, knowing who I'd see. This was an old friend of mine from childhood, someone that I hadn't seen in years. He looked just a little different from how I remembered him. Not by much. He was older than when I'd seen him last, obviously, but he seemed at least a few years younger than I was somehow, even though we were supposed to be the same age. He was also very pale and unbelievably white. In fact, he had deep circles around his eyes that were solid blue, as were his lips. "Hi, what are you doing here?" I asked. "I'm here to warn you," he replied. Naturally, I was all ears. "There's a man in your house right now," he explained. "What do you mean there's someone in my house? I was just there, I think." I didn't actually know how long ago I'd been there. I wasn't sure how long I'd been walking. You don't understand," my friend stammered with apparent urgency. "He really is in your house right now." I had no idea what he was talking about, but I was curious. "Well, who is he?" I asked him. "He's the cold man. He comes to people at night when they're afraid." The cold man? Well, I'd never heard of anyone like that before. I wanted to know more, so I asked. "Well, what does he do?" "He waits to be noticed, and then he makes his move. You know that chill you feel on your back when something really scares you? That's not just your nerves. That's him standing behind you." Okay, well, what for? I wondered. "What does he do once you notice him?" My friend looked down and away. He wasn't going to answer that question. "Just don't let him in," he cautioned. "What do you mean?" "He can be close forever," my friend explained. "He'll walk around your house at night, even stand in your room while you're asleep, like he is in yours right now. He can know where you are. He can even be looking right at you, but he won't find you unless you let him." Well, how does he find you? I mean, how do you let him? My friend looked to either side of the road, like he was worried that someone might overhear. He leaned in very close and whispered, "If you see him, or if you hear him, or if you ever start to feel suddenly very cold, don't move. Don't talk. Don't acknowledge him in any way. Don't ever let him in." "I don't understand," I admitted. "How do I get rid of this thing?" "You can't," my friend replied in a small, shuddering voice. "Look, I'm out of time." "Out of time?" I repeated, not sure exactly what he meant. My friend shook his head. His eyes were wide and he was shivering. Off in the distance, I noticed a dark figure creeping up behind him, but something kept me from speaking. "My time's up," he stammered. "Just whatever you do, don't let him in. And whatever you do, don't answer it." And then something pulled my friend back into the darkness, and suddenly I couldn't see him anymore. Before I could follow after him, though, I was startled awake by a very loud noise. I was sitting in my room, fully dressed, with my shoes on, and I could swear that I hadn't been dressed when I went to bed. My shoes and legs were covered in dust, my feet were sore, and I could hear a ringing noise right next to me. In the confusion of waking up from such a vivid dream, I hadn't immediately recognized it. But I felt so cold. Then I looked down and saw my phone. That was the source of the ringing. Remembering my friend's words, I didn't answer it. But eventually the ringing stopped. The room was cold as ice, and the feeling that I was being watched was as strong as it had been when I had fallen asleep. I could hear something moving inside my closet, but I didn't dare to move. I just closed my eyes and waited. Eventually I heard footsteps walking away, still from inside the closet. It was as if they were walking down some unseen hallway, though my closet is small and I couldn't see anything unusual in there. When the footsteps got far enough away, the cold lifted. He didn't get in this time. If my dream was true, if the thing in my closet was what I think, or who I think it was, I can't ever let him in. I think he'll be back tonight, though. That's when he's supposed to come, just as my friend told me. I don't know what happened to my friend. I just hope people remember his warning. If you start to feel cold when hearing this, don't be alarmed. If you hear something in your house, just ignore it. You can't afford to let him find you. Don't let the cold man in. So, this Turkey Day, when you're trying to think of things to be thankful for, remember that though our past may contain things that we find painful or even frightening, you should still be thankful for what those things teach you. Those lessons may even keep you alive. Stay scary, wildlings, and make the most of your nights.